partner that we've worked with. MEDA works primarily through partners. We do economic development and financial services. And as Murray said, I lead our youth and financial services work. We've been working in financial services since 1953, since we started as an organization, and with youth for about 10 years, so not quite as long. The partner that I'm going to tell you about is an MFI in El Salvador. It's called Enlace, and it was started by an NGO called CRS, Catholic Relief Services. They've got about 33,000 clients, and they've decided that youth is a market they really want to break into. So we went down and we helped them to design a product and then expand the outreach of this particular product. The thing that I want to talk to you about is their approach, because it's their approach that's quite innovative. They didn't develop a new technology or a product that's wildly different, but the way that they're looking at youth as part of their long-term strategy, I think is quite innovative. So I'm just going to outline that pretty briefly. Youth in El Salvador are about 34% of the population. That's between 15 and 24. They're vulnerable for a number of reasons. There's different groups of youth, obviously. Rural youth have challenges of access. One of the pictures, I don't know if you're going to see it, but one of the pictures is really illustrative of some of the infrastructure problems. It's very difficult to get to and from the cities if you're in the rural areas. The roads are not very good. It's a very mountainous country. So although it's small, the infrastructure can be a real barrier for youth to accessing any kind of services. In urban areas, the problems are a little bit different. There's a big gang problem in El Salvador. Historically, it's got a lot to do with people living in the US and then going back to El Salvador. But youth have said repeatedly that they feel if they have money or if they have a small enterprise of any kind, if people think they have money, they're quite vulnerable. They're vulnerable to having that money stolen or to having gangs put pressure on them to pay them. So there's a range of challenges that youth face that make them vulnerable, particularly in connection to money or financial services. Now, the interesting thing from the perspective of an MFI is that nobody in El Salvador yet is really serving the youth market. None of the other 17 MFIs or banks in the country have really begun to do this yet in any targeted way. So there's not very much competition, and that's a real advantage for Enlace. As I said, the innovation that I think that they have is the way that they're looking at youth. They're a for-profit institution. They can only serve clients who are 18 and above because of contractual issues, and they can't take savings yet. They are thinking that they would like to in the future. They would like to transform into a regulated financial institution, which would mean that they could access savings from their clients. But they can't do that yet. So what they've done is they have identified that youth, wow, that 5 minutes goes fast. They've identified that youth are a very good future market for their credit products, but that they're going to need to reach out to youth and get their brand known among this market. So what they've started doing is setting up informal savings groups. And the savings groups, they have a lockbox. The money does not come to the MFI, but the savings groups are led by staff of the MFI. So they receive training, they set up groups, they mentor the youth in the groups, and this goes on for periods of 1 year. Then the group finishes and they can decide to start again after that. So the MFI's invested a lot of time in this. They run, at the moment, hundreds of groups, and they're hoping to expand it to thousands. They get no profit from this, and in fact, it takes quite a lot of their time. But they've considered that this is an investment both in the future of the savings clients that they would like to begin accessing in the 3 to 5 years when they become a regulated financial institution. And they've calculated that a certain number of these youth in their savings groups will eventually become loan clients. The trick that I think is really interesting is because the loan officers run the savings groups, they're able to interact with the youth in a completely stress-free environment over a period of about a year, and they're able to identify this youth is quite entrepreneurial, and they can just nudge them in the direction of thinking about business as an option for themselves. So they're able to not screen in a formal way, but to identify youth that are likely to be promising entrepreneurs in the future. And it's this combination of things that I think is quite innovative. Looking at future clients for their loan products, future clients for their savings products, and really expanding their brand as not just a credit institution, but a future savings institution that is reaching out to young people. Let me just see if I've covered all my main points, because I'm getting the 0-minute sign here. So just to kind of sum up, the really interesting part for me is not just that they're reaching out to youth, not just that they're providing a necessary service in the form of these savings groups, but that they've looked at it from the perspective of their institutional sustainability. This is part of their long-term business model, and they've done very intensive calculations to see that investing in these savings groups now will become a sustainable option for them in the future. So that's what I think is really interesting about this organization.
Great.
Thank you.
Excellent.